Hi everyone, welcome back to the vlog. Hope you've all had a lovely week. This week we've got a bit of a chatty vlog. I went to sit at my desk and do my weekly goals at the start of this week and realised that we were in March, which means that it was time to review my February goals and write some new ones for March, which is always kind of a fun thing for me. It kind of means like progress, like fresh start, that kind of thing, keeps me motivated. I've seen this trend quite a lot on social media recently about I'm that girl who does everything. I've seen quite a lot of people do this reel thing that was just be that girl who's interested in everything, and I was just yeah, that's really me. I've got goals and interests in everything, and it's always your standard fitness influencer, and they're doing swimming and running and cycling and their normal gym work, and then they've always got a random crafty hobby, whether it's crochet or knitting or something, or reading books and stuff like that. And that makes it sound like I'm really against it. No, I was that's me. I'm like that. So yeah, I thought it was quite a funny trend. So I thought maybe I would take you through my goal setting and how I set up a week to show you how I do everything that I'm trying to fit in, because I realise it's a lot, and I'm very aware that on social media it can seem like other people have got so much on their plate and they're doing so much and they're totally managing it, and they're doing it all perfectly, and then when you're not doing it yourself, that you feel really shitty about it, even though it's totally unrealistic. So yeah, I thought I would take you through a little goal review, goal setting, week planning type chat, realistic expectations versus social media expectations. So let's get started. So I've talked about this before, but this is my year of balance, not burnout. I'm totally coining that phrase. I guess what I really mean by that is that I've got a huge number of goals and interests and things that I want to be doing, and also we've talked about before about my health stuff that kind of feels like it gets in the way of that and things. And I'm one of those people that I've got so many goals and interests and things that it's really unrealistic for me to be able, or for me to expect of myself to be able to do all of those things, I guess. I think as elite athlete, I've got very high expectations, and they're very unrealistic expectations, and I can be pretty hard on myself when I don't meet those expectations, even though I know that they're not realistic. So my whole balance not burnout thing is me trying to get better at learning what is realistic for me and not being mad at myself when I don't meet my unrealistic expectations. Part of that is around learning self-awareness and accepting that I am not Wonder Woman as much as I would love to be. I'm kind of learning that being constantly hard on myself, and this goes for everybody, if you're constantly hard on yourself, it can have really detrimental impacts on your health and well-being, and not just your mental health. It's kind of obvious if you're talking to yourself you're a piece of shit, that that's really bad for your mental health, but it's actually got a lot of impact on your physical health as well. Mine's already not the best physical health, so I'm trying to be better with that. On that note, my sister and my aunt, both separately, but reasonably close together, my sister sent me something on Instagram, and then my aunt was up visiting and she was telling me about something she'd heard on the radio, and they both mentioned this guy, Gabor Maté. I might have butchered that name, but I think that's how you say it, and it's really interesting. He's this doctor, and he's got a few books out and stuff, but he's talking about in modern culture we talk about the mind and the body, and he's talking about when did this disconnect happen between the mind body, because it's all one thing. And he talks an awful lot about sort of the mental state and behaviours of people who have lots, or who have autoimmune conditions, or end up with lots of autoimmune conditions, and it's just really fascinating. I've started listening to his book, when the body says no, and just listening to it being that's kind of me. So it's just really interesting. I've only just started it. I'm on chapter 3 or something, but it's really fascinating. Anyways, going back to the goal review for February, I actually didn't get a huge amount of my goals done this month. When I went to have a look at it, I think I only had 3 out of 15 or 20 or something. Partly because I didn't revisit them throughout the month to remind myself what they were, and partly because I got a new job this month, so stuff kind of changed. So while I advocate for setting goals at the start of the month, I also advocate for like being nice to yourself if you don't meet them. If it's for like a sensible reason, like your priorities have changed or something in life has happened that means stuff's changed, then don't be so mean, I guess. And you shouldn't like berate yourself for not meeting those goals if, you know, you have a sensible reason not to. So let's go through them and I can show you what I mean. So I use the productivity method, like every other girl you'll see on the internet at the moment. It's from Grace Beverley. She owns Tala, like a bunch of other stuff. Makes these like planners and things. I do have a physical copy of the planner and I would really love to be the kind of person who can use a physical planner. I like the aesthetic, I like the way it feels. It's a really nice book. I just can't. I don't know why. I've never been able to. I've talked before about like I've not being able to use a shooting diary despite having tried many times. I just can't get into a physical one. And they brought out the digital one. It's obviously a little bit more expensive because, you know, you buy it once and that's you forever. Expensive like straight off the bat, but then you obviously don't have to buy a new planner every time you need one. And I was like, I'll try it. I don't think I'm going to be able to use it. I've tried a couple of things like that before and it's just like, when I have too many things to fill in, it ends up being quite overwhelming. And I guess like for me, the system that was working was I use an iPhone. So the system that had been working was just to make sure stuff was in my calendar and then to use the Notes app on the iPhone with the like check boxes to make sure stuff got done. But I thought I would try the digital productivity method and it actually does work. I've made a few modifications, like I don't use the daily plan the way they suggest you using it. I don't really do daily, I guess. It's a bit too like shoves you into a box for me. So I do like a weekly plan and that way I can like move things around depending on energy levels and if stuff comes up and things like that. So I like modified it slightly for myself. But yeah, I think being aware of what works for you and what doesn't work for you rather than what you would like and what like looks nice and things, I suppose. So in January I had a goal to read 2 books and didn't manage it. But I'd nearly finished the 2 books. So in February, I had a goal to read 4 books. So that was the 2 that I'd just about finished from January, plus the other 2 that should have been from February. February is a short month anyway, so I think maybe that was a bit over-optimistic. So I did finish the 2 books from January that I had just about finished. So I did finish those, and then I didn't read any more in February. Or like I didn't finish any more books. I kept reading, but I didn't finish any more books. Like I finished one a couple of days ago, or yesterday, so I don't know if that maybe counts. Yeah, so I haven't hit that goal. Most of the reason for that is because I stopped reading when I was going to bed. So I use my phone as my alarm clock, so I take it to bed with me. Our bed is bumped up against the wall, so I don't have anything like a bedside table. So my phone actually lives under my pillow, which I'm not a big fan of, but I don't really feel like there's a huge other amount of option. Especially with the new work, I'm getting up at like before 6 quite a lot of the time, and I don't really want to wake Grant up. So me like leaving my phone on the other side of the room or having an alarm clock somewhere else, that would wake him up as well, which doesn't seem fair. So I have my phone under my bed, under my pillow. Because I take my phone to bed with me, I've then like been scrolling or like looking at YouTube or looking at Instagram. Not for like super long, probably the same amount of time that I would spend reading, but I've been doing that instead of reading. And like I would have had my Kindle was under my pillow for ages, but it kept falling down the back of the bed. So it's just kind of like I've not got a setup that's conducive to me reading before bed. I'm thinking I would get like a little thing that will go down the side of the mattress that I can then put stuff in, so it's not like underneath my pillow, but I haven't done that. So I think like this month's goal will be to read before bed instead of like doing my phone, and then I'll have like on my to-do list before or like during this month at some point to get one of those little like slot things that goes down the side of the bed so that I can have stuff next to me without it being like under my head while I sleep. The next one of my goals for this month, I don't know if I said, but all these goals, they're like split into different sections, and this is part of the productivity method, but again, this is one of the areas that I like modified to suit me. But yeah, these ones are like personal development, and then there's like different subheadings. So my next goal was to have started piano lessons. I used to take piano lessons ages ago. I was also taking clarinet lessons, but my teacher moved away to Switzerland, and then I haven't really done anything since. And I used an app for a while, but the app's not, like, you don't get the same accountability from an app as you do from an actual person. So I've been like wanting to start piano lessons. I did, after the Olympics, email a few people to see if I could get piano lessons, and not one of them replied, and then that's on me to then have not like gone and found elsewhere. So I think this month, instead of start piano lessons, which was the same as January, it's going to be find a piano teacher and get somebody to reply, and that'll be the goal for this month. I have some financial goals as well, but I'm not going to share those because I think, sharing financial stuff on the internet is a step too far for me. Fitness-wise, I wanted to finish the Couch to 5K in February, which I didn't quite. I had like a couple of weeks, not even 2 weeks left of the app thing. I took 2 weeks off in February that I didn't really mean to. One of them I just wasn't feeling great, and then the other one was a rest week anyway. So I ended up 2 weeks shy because I'd taken 2 weeks off. So that was just a little bit of laziness, a little bit of burnout on my part. I spoke last week about changing from a 6-week program to a 4-week program. I think for clients, I would do 6-week programs. I think they're better. But I think I get chronic fatigue, and that's something I need to be aware of as my own limitations. So I think a 4-week program will probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, work better for me. So I'll finish the Couch to 5K this month. I've only got one run left to do anyway, and that's the 5K. So I'm pretty much finished in March. And then, my fitness goals for this month will be a bit more around consistency and around trying to make sure that I've done all of my sessions, which is really ironic because this week's been absolute pants. I felt so tired and lethargic and stuff that I've done half of my workouts. I've done some of them, so I suppose in terms of consistency, I'm getting there. I'm a little bit annoyed that I didn't get more of them done, but at the same time, I'm I still did some of them, so, balance. My other fitness goal this month was to prioritise recovery, and I think that is really important, actually. The last week, part of the reason I didn't do all of my runs was because my hip got really sore again. My hip really flared up. And I think that was partly because I wasn't doing my recovery properly. So I think prioritising recovery and making that a goal for this month will really help with that. Side hustles is my group. It is my subsection. I think the productivity method calls this, maybe this one's relationships or something. But I was so I've got one for work, and then I've got one for, career, I guess. And then I've got one for side hustles, which is basically the same thing, but I've split it and it works for me, so. The side hustles is basically my social media, and one other super secret project that I've mentioned a few times that I'm not telling you about. So in February I wanted to do a bit of research into SEOs. I don't know what those are, but into YouTube and how to write better descriptions and how to use whatever SEOs are, optimization and things like that. I never got around to it. Honestly, I forgot about it because I didn't go and review those goals. So that one can just move to March. One was to post at least 2 reels on Instagram a week. I pretty much did that, except for the week that I was kind of tired. I don't know, I had a little bit of lack of creativity on some of them. I've been reasonably consistent, I feel, so I don't know. I wanted to post 3 or 4 times a week on my Warhammer channel, which I definitely have not done. And that's mostly because I haven't actually done any Warhammer painting or anything. So the goal this month will be to paint 1 or 2 times a week rather than to post X whatever. And I really enjoy painting. I think it helps me relax anyway, and I don't want it to be a thing I feel I have to do for social media. The social media was supposed to be a bit of fun. So yes, that's that goal. Career wise, I had a couple of courses that I finished or that I wanted to finish, and that I had a goal to finish those courses. One of them I've just binned. I tried to do the course, and honestly it wasn't very interesting. The assessment thing that I had to do for it was really badly laid out and badly formatted. It was just a weird assessment, and I was do you know what, I don't actually need to do that for my career. It's not something that I'm ever actually going to use. It was an extra add-on to my personal training course, so I just why am I wasting energy on something that I don't want to do and don't need to do? So I just scratched that one off. And the other one is super interesting, and I was trying to do the one that I didn't like to do first, so it was Swallow Your Frog, but I just kept avoiding doing it, so I never got around to the one that was actually more interesting. So this week I had in my weekly plan to do that course, the one that's super interesting, and I actually did. I've not finished it, but I actually did some work on it. So I'm kind of just okay, good. I've scrapped the one I really didn't want to do, and I'm actually working on the other one that I wanted to do. So that one, as a goal, is moved to March. I've just finished that course in March. That's that one. I'll have some new ones for my job in there, I guess, eventually. I haven't written any just now because we're not I haven't fully started yet, but that's a space where that'll go. And then the last section for me is health, which again, I had these goals and they're all in hand. None of them have actually been completed, but they're all on their way to being completed. So I guess I just shift all of those into March. So some of it was my jaw. I spoke to the consultant, I've seen the dentist, so like that stuff's in hand. I've started like reintroducing, one of the goals was like to create a reintroduction plan for the AIP diet. I did create a reintroduction plan, sort of. I have started reintroducing foods, so again, like that's just the goal for this month, is to keep reintroducing foods. And then the other thing that I would like to add in is to have a look at calories and macros, and start tracking that going forwards. I'm not a huge fan of like tracking calories and tracking macros, but I think like I'm eating slightly different foods than I did before. So I think it's like quite a useful exercise to track for a little while, so that you can then get an idea of what like a decent plate of food looks like, so that you can then eat intuitively after that, I suppose. So that's my goal setting for March done. From there, I went and did my weekly planning, which I usually do on a Sunday or a Monday. More often than not, I do it on the Monday morning, but if I know my Monday's going to be really busy, then I do it on the Sunday, around about the same time as I post these vlogs. So week planning, in the productivity method, there's a thing for weekly planning. So I just create a new weekly plan, it comes up with this stuff, and then I like kind of populate it. So I start populating it with fixed commitments, so that would be like sessions I'm taking in the gym, my own workout schedule, any appointments that I have, like a dentist appointment or stuff like that. So anything that's like fixed and has a fixed time goes in. And then after that, I'm kind of like, oh well, everything else I've got to do is really like social media based, so I then move over to do my content plans, which are like, I've got one for the YouTube channel, for Instagram, like my Instagram, one for work Instagram, one for Bolt Gun and Book Instagram. It's going to confuse me that I've got Bolt Gun and Book and Bamboo Bodies. I was like, that's a lot of bees. But yes, I've got a bunch of different social media pages, and I think the best way for me to actually be consistent about posting is to have a plan in place to begin with. So I go over to the content plans, write the content plans, and then go back to the weekly plan and populate the content plans into the weekly plan. So on a Wednesday, for example, if I want to do a reel about something, then in my weekly plan I'll have film reel about X, edit reel and post reel. And that's so that when I get to Wednesday, I don't forget what I've said I was going to do. After I've put all the content plan stuff in, I will go and have a look at my giant to-do list and see if there's anything urgent or important that needs to get done this week, and then I'll put that in as well. Because if it's not on the weekly plan, it just won't get done because I will forget. Things like the Scottish Championships are next weekend. I have the trophy from last year. I'm not competing this year, which means I'll be giving the trophy to somebody else, which means I need to go and get the trophy engraved. I'm supposed to be getting this trophy engraved for the last few weeks, and I have not because I'm useless, but the deadline is upon me, so it will now get done, and then I will give the trophy to my sister to take to the competition at the weekend. So that is on my list of things to do as well. So I'll have Notion open. Notion's like where I've got this productivity planner. I'll have Notion open on my computer. So like every time I go and sit in my computer, I can have a look at what's on that weekly plan. I can check off the stuff that I've done. I can remind myself of the stuff that I need to get done. And it just like keeps me on track and keeps me like being productive and keeps me accountable. I will caveat that with, I often put too much into my calendar and like completely unrealistic expectations of what I can get done in a day. And I'm trying to work on that. It's not the easiest thing to do. There are so many hours in the day, and if I try to do too much, then I will A, get super tired and then like burnt out and then not want to do anything like the next day, and then I just end up in a bit of a spiral, or B, I don't get very much done and it makes me feel like really crappy about myself because I'm like, why can't I do this? Everybody else can do this. And I just wanted to like share that because I think everybody feels like that. We've got this like toxic productivity culture now where everything's hustle and everything's like, you must have 5 side hustles as well as your normal job, and some of us are parents on top of that, but you must be productive at all times. Like at no point are you allowed to rest and relax, and I just think it's a bit mental. Yeah, I think maybe in another video we can talk about kind of knowing and accepting your limits, but that's like a whole other topic. But yeah, I think something that's really helping me with this is this little like time flip thing I have, but it's this little like, it's not a ball, it's got like hexagons on it, or like on all sides, so like you can roll it, but it's like got little hexagons on it, and it's got like a gyroscope inside it, and it comes with a little sticker book, and you can put the stickers on each edge, and then it knows which way it's facing up, and then it's linked to an app where you can then say like this like side that's facing up is for this, this other side that's facing up is for that. So you can put like an email sticker on one face and then you can tag that to emails. And then whenever you like turn it to like the email one facing up, for example, it then tracks your time and how long you spend doing that task, which is really cool. So I got this thing and I've put like a bunch of different stickers on it to try and like help me figure out how much time I actually spend doing certain tasks. So like I used to think I could do a YouTube video in a day, and like a YouTube video like this I could maybe do in a day because there's not a huge amount of editing needs done for this, and I'm just sitting like chatting with you guys. But see, like if I want to do a YouTube video that's got a whole bunch of different things, then I need to remember to like do that throughout the week. But then it's also like a huge amount more editing because I have to edit every single one of those clips. So using this little tracker, I found out like the average time it takes me to do a YouTube video, or like how long it takes me to do like certain types of YouTube video. And then when I'm doing my weekly plan, I can be like, okay, it's actually going to take me this long, and like put that in. And like Instagram posts, I used to think Instagram posts would take like 5 minutes. They do not. They take like 20 minutes. And if you're doing a reel, it's even longer. And I'm sure there are people out there who can do it in like 5 minutes and do a reel in 5 minutes, but I am not one of those people. Social media does not come easily to me. It is not something that I think I am naturally talented at. Really like did not expect to have to be naturally talented at social media, but apparently that's the thing. But yeah, like I think this little time flip thing has really like helped me, and is still helping me figure out how long it actually takes me to do tasks, so that I can realistically say that's how much I can fit in during that day, because that task is actually going to take me all day. So that's like how I try to fit everything in. I never actually fit everything in. It is completely impossible. There's always something that crops up. Like I said before, like I often like refuse to accept my own limitations, and I get really frustrated with myself when I then don't get all the stuff done that I expected of myself to be able to get done. If I push myself too much, then I just get really tired and like don't get much stuff done, and I get burnt out and then I don't do things. I suffer a lot with chronic fatigue. I don't know whether that's a side effect of my other autoimmune diseases or if it's another one by itself. I don't know, but I definitely suffer from a case of like the mind is willing but the body is not, and that's like one of the more frustrating places to be, especially like if you're sat there being like, I want to be able to do this thing, I just can't. I think being an elite athlete and then also working in the fitness industry makes this a lot harder, because you're constantly surrounded by messages of like, just do it, or like the best athletes will do it even when they don't want to, or even when they're tired. And it kind of, it's like telling you that you're lazy because you're not doing it. And like I kind of agree for the most part with the sentiment, because you know, like if you do want to achieve something hard, you do have to work for it, and you do have to, you know, like do it anyway sometimes. Like you do have to put in the effort if you want to achieve something difficult. But you know, like I'm also in the wellness space, and this whole like toxic productivity space is like becoming a real problem. You know, that whole like you can do everything you set your mind to. Like I would love to be able to believe that, and it's true to some degree, but you can't do everything all at once. And I think that's the thing we miss out on, is like, yes, you can do everything potentially, but you can't do everything all at the same time. And I think it's quite like detrimental to society in general for us not to talk about that when we talk about being able to do everything you want. I regularly worry that I'm like super lazy because I can't do everything that other people seem to be able to do, and it comes across as being like people can work harder than I can, and it just makes me feel like I'm like, am I being lazy? Yeah, I find it frustrating because it makes me feel like I'm weaker or lesser because like I can't do it. But I think that's the thing, is like I'm not able to do it. It's not that I don't want to do it, and it's a case of like if I would, I could. I kind of have to like link it back to my values, and that's where like I can find acceptance of what's true. And what is true is that I work as hard as I can, and that's all I could ever really have asked of myself. Sorry, that went a bit like tangential and a bit ranty. So yes, in summary, don't be so hard on yourself. Society expects more of us than is actually humanly possible, and we should all be nice to each other. I hope you enjoyed the vlog, guys. I know it was a bit of an odd one, I suppose. As usual, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. If you have anything you want to like add or ask or whatever, then like have a chat in the comments. I will be more than happy to like chat more about this. I think Ironically, I'm probably better at like writing things than just chatting off the top of my head in front of this camera. So I don't know if I've said something like dumb or not made like sense and you want some like clarity on something, then please feel free to just comment and I'll try and like answer it properly, I suppose. But yes, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and it really like supports my channel and helps keep me motivated to actually like bring this content. Also, next week we've got a special guest. You could probably guess who that might be. But yes, if you're excited to have a chat with me and my special guest next week, then please come back, and I'll see you guys next week. So yeah, have a great week, guys. Bye.